I've always been the kind of guy who appreciates a good routine. Wake up at 5:30 a.m., make coffee, stretch, and jog before the world fully wakes up. It's been that way for years. Running clears my head, helps me process thoughts, shake off stress, and gives me a small piece of peace before diving into the noise of everyday life. I live in a quiet little town in Oregon, not far from the mountains. My house backs up to a stretch of forest that eventually connects to a well-known hiking and jogging trail. It's a place where I've always felt safe, peaceful even. You hear owls in the distance, leaves crunch under your feet, and the scent of pine is thick in the air. I'd go so far as to say that trail was my sanctuary. Until October 2 years ago. That's when everything changed. Now, I've run that trail hundreds of times. I've seen deer, coyotes, even the occasional person walking their dog. But this was different. This wasn't someone taking a walk or enjoying the morning air. This felt off. Deeply, instinctively wrong. Still, I tried to be rational. Told myself maybe he was a hiker taking a break. Maybe he was out of it. Maybe he was just weird. I nodded in his direction, said hey, and kept running. He didn't respond. Didn't flinch. Didn't even look like he was breathing. I didn't look back. The next day, I took a different trail. Subconsciously, I think I was hoping to avoid him. Maybe I didn't want to admit to myself how much he'd gotten under my skin. But on Thursday, I convinced myself I was being paranoid. I needed to get over it. Face the fear or whatever. So I went back. Same route. Same fog. Same early morning chill. And the man was there again. Same spot. Same hoodie. This time, he was closer to the trail. Maybe 8 feet off. Still silent. Still watching. But this time something else happened. As I ran past him, I felt this pressure. Not physical. More like something pushing down on me emotionally. My breath caught in my throat. I stumbled. My legs actually buckled a little. I've never felt fear like that before. It was primal, like something in me was screaming, "You're not safe here." I ran. I sprinted the rest of the way, and didn't stop until I was back home. That night, I had a dream, or maybe it was a nightmare. I was on the trail again, only this time the fog was thicker, and I couldn't see more than a few feet ahead. I was walking, not running. Everything was dead. Silent. No birds. No wind. Then I saw him, standing right in the center of the trail, facing away from me. I stopped. He turned around slowly, and I swear to God, he didn't have a face. Just smooth skin where his features should have been. And he raised one hand and pointed at me. I woke up in a cold sweat. That was the last time I ran that trail for weeks. Then in early November, I saw something on the local news that shook me to the core. A body had been found in the woods. Near the trail, a hiker had spotted it off one of the side paths. Police said it had been there for a while. When they showed the composite sketch of the man, my stomach dropped. It was him. Same build. Same hoodie. Same dead stare. But the kicker, the part that still keeps me up at night, was this. According to the coroner, the man had likely died at least 3 weeks before they found him. 3 weeks. Which means, if the sketch was accurate, and it was, then I saw a dead man in the woods. Twice. And I don't care what anyone says. It wasn't just some hallucination. I felt his presence. I felt his awareness. He saw me. And some nights, when I'm half asleep, I still see him in my dreams, standing just inside the trees. Watching. Waiting. I've always found peace in night running. Yeah, I know most people think it's risky or reckless, but for me, it was therapeutic. After long shifts at the warehouse, when my brain was fried and my body heavy with exhaustion, that cool night air and the quiet roads were all I needed. No cars. No people. Just me, the pavement, and my thoughts. I've always found peace in night running. Yeah, I know most people think it's risky or reckless, but for me, it was therapeutic. After long shifts at the warehouse, when my brain was fried and my body heavy with exhaustion, that cool night air and the quiet roads were all I needed. No cars. No people. Just me, the pavement, and my thoughts. This happened 2 summers ago. July. The heat during the day was suffocating, so I'd wait until after 10 p.m. to head out. That night, I remember checking the time. It was 10:42. I grabbed my water bottle, threw on my usual running gear, and headed out. The air was warm but breezy. The sky was clear. You could see stars through the gaps in the trees. I had music in my earbuds, low volume, just enough to hear the beat, but still stay aware of my surroundings. First lap around the lake went fine. I was in the zone, my breathing steady, legs moving on autopilot. But as I started the second lap, I noticed something strange. Footsteps. At first, I thought it was just the echo of my own feet on the pavement, bouncing off the trees and coming back delayed. But the sound felt off. It wasn't an echo. It was too perfect. Like someone was running behind me, right behind me, matching me step for step. I slowed down. The footsteps slowed too. I stopped, and so did they. I yanked out one earbud and turned around. Nobody. The path behind me was completely empty. No shadows. No movement. The only thing I heard was the faint rustling of leaves. "Hello?" I called out. Nothing. I stood there for a minute, scanning the trail, waiting for someone to emerge from the trees or step out of the shadows. But there was nothing. I tried to laugh it off. "You're tired," I told myself. "Your mind is playing tricks." So I kept going, but now I couldn't unhear it. Every step I took, there it was. That second pair of feet, exactly in sync with mine. It wasn't just the sound anymore, it was the presence. I could feel it, that electric charge on the back of your neck, like someone's watching you. I started to panic a little. I picked up the pace. The footsteps did too. I turned around sharply, again no one. But this time, I noticed something weird. There were wet footprints on the pavement. Not mine. Mine were dry. I hadn't been near the lake. But these prints, they were barefoot, human, damp, like someone had stepped out of the water and followed me. That's when I started running for real. I cut the loop short, sprinted toward the park entrance. The trail winds a bit before the parking lot, and just before the last bend I saw it. Someone standing in the middle of the path. They were backlit by the park lights behind them, just a silhouette. But what made my blood freeze was what they were wearing. The exact same clothes as me. Same shirt. Same shorts. Even the same shoes. And they were just standing there, facing me, still. I stopped dead in my tracks. It was like looking in a mirror, but without a reflection. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, and in a flash, they turned and bolted into the trees. Gone. No sound. No rustling branches. Just gone. I ran the rest of the way home like my life depended on it. When I got inside, I locked the door, dropped to the floor, and just sat there trying to breathe. My hands were shaking. My heart felt like it was going to tear through my chest. Then I went to the bathroom, splashed water on my face, and caught sight of myself in the mirror. That's when I saw it. My shirt, the one I was sure I had put on the right way, was inside out. And my shoes? Muddy. But I hadn't gone near the lake or the woods. I didn't go running for a week after that. When I finally worked up the courage to go back to the lake, I noticed something carved into one of the wooden benches along the trail. It hadn't been there before. You run fast, but I never get tired. I haven't run at night since. And I don't think I ever will. Back in 2018, I was attending college in a small city in Pennsylvania. Not a big school, just one of those quiet campuses tucked away in a place where people still leave their doors unlocked and wave to their neighbors. I rented a basement apartment just a 10-minute walk from campus, right next to this massive public park called Hollow Creek. Hollow Creek Park was beautiful, old-growth trees, long winding trails, benches carved from stone, a rusted playground that hadn't been touched since the 90s, and a steep hill that offered a perfect view of the skyline. In fall, the place looked like a painting, orange, red, yellow leaves crunching underfoot, mist drifting low in the mornings. I used to go jogging there before my early classes. 5 a.m. sharp. No people. No noise. Just the sound of my shoes against the path, the cool morning air, and the occasional squirrel darting into a bush. I was there so often I started to feel like the park was mine. Like a little world that only I got to see while everyone else was still asleep. That's probably why I didn't notice right away when it started to change. It was mid-November when it happened. A Thursday. The night before it had rained, and the fog was thick that morning, really thick like soup. I almost didn't go out, but I needed the run. I had a stats exam later that day, and wanted to clear my head. As soon as I stepped into the park, I felt something. Not fear exactly, just a strange kind of emptiness. Like someone had hit the mute button on the world. No rustling trees, no bird calls, not even the hum of distant traffic. It was completely and utterly silent. The fog swallowed everything. I couldn't see more than a few feet in front of me, so I slowed my pace and focused on the sound of my own breathing. I'd made it maybe a quarter mile down the main trail when I noticed something near the drinking fountain. It was crouched down on the ground. At first I thought it was a dog, some stray sniffing for food. But then it moved. It stood up slowly, almost unnaturally, like every joint was resisting. It was a woman, barefoot, wearing a long, pale dress that was wet and clinging to her thin frame. Her hair hung in long, dark strands, covering her face. Her hands were stiff at her sides. She didn't look at me, not at first. I froze, not out of fear, not yet, but out of confusion. The way she moved, the silence around her, the fact that she was barefoot and soaking wet in freezing weather, none of it made sense. I cleared my throat and asked, "Ma'am, are you okay?" She didn't move. "Do you need help?" Still nothing. Then, with a jerk, like a puppet yanked by a string, she turned her head toward me. And that's when I saw her face. Pale, grayish, hollow cheeks. Her eyes were the worst part, completely white. No irises, no pupils. Just blank, milky orbs staring directly into me. That was the moment the fear kicked in. I stepped back. She didn't follow. But I could tell, somehow, she was still watching. Even after I turned and jogged away as fast as I could feel her eyes on me. When I got home, I locked the door behind me, even though it was broad daylight. I didn't tell anyone. Didn't go back to the park for a week. But curiosity's a dangerous thing. 7 days later, I returned. Midday this time, just to feel safe. The park was normal. Kids on the playground. Dogs barking. Squirrels everywhere. It almost felt like a dream. I walked over to the drinking fountain. No one was there. But something caught my eye. On the bench next to it, carved into the wood with something sharp, were words. 6 of them. You run. I walk. I follow. I didn't sit down. I didn't drink. I walked straight out of that park and never went back. That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. A week after that, I started seeing her. Not clearly, not face to face, but in the corner of my vision. In reflections. I'd catch a glimpse of long dark hair behind me in mirrors. I'd hear wet footsteps in the hallway when I was home alone. I'd be walking back from class and see pale bare feet vanishing around a corner just as I turned. Once I woke up in the middle of the night, sweating, heart racing, and there, standing at the end of my bed, was the outline of someone. Dripping. Watching. Then gone. I don't think she was from that park. I think the park was just where she found me. I moved out of that apartment the following semester. Switched my running routine to afternoons, always with people around. But sometimes, especially when the fog rolls in thick and the world goes quiet, I still hear footsteps behind me. Soft, bare, wet, and I don't look back, because I think, if I do, she'll finally catch up.